I've been here at this spot for a few minutes now and initially tried without any ground bait. Fishing without ground bait at the Copper Lake is always a bit tricky. With the first ground bait, things suddenly pick up, and I'm curious if we'll find the target fish here. And it is the target fish. So the F1 carp is still biting at this spot. Really nice, still on raspberry. And how I'm currently fishing here, we'll take a closer look at that in a moment. Yes, straight back out with it. I've been testing here for days at various waters, including the zig rig, and the zig rig seems to be getting more and more interesting. At least for me, it's become increasingly intriguing, not just recently with the buffalo fish, which also worked really well, but also, for example, with the 8-tuber, e.g. for sturgeon and co. That has also worked. We were out there live streaming and tested a lot, but we've also been here before and tried things out, and at this spot, the F1 carp has been biting really well for several days now. Just testing without ground bait, there wasn't much action, 2 small bites, and now with the ground bait starting to take effect, things are slowly picking up. The first F1, I hope there's a bit more to come. I'm also fishing relatively large at the moment. Maybe I should go a bit smaller. I'll set up another rig, maybe tweak it a bit for a bit more frequency. Because the way I've set it up now, yes, it's quite large, but I wanted to exaggerate a bit. We've had a weather change, meaning the water temperature has dropped, which is always important, especially for the zig rig, but also for all these carp waters. That means we currently have normal water temperatures, and well, despite everything, it's still working here at this spot at 8 meters distance, just casually casting out, and it's been going quite well so far. If you stand here with a pop-up rig, you can of course do that, just with the pop-up rig, 8 meters distance, maybe just a size 4 hook. I'll also go a bit smaller now. We'll set this up a bit more delicately, the zig rig, and then it should work. I'll also go smaller with the leader, or yes, actually with the smaller setup. I'll go a bit smaller now, and I'll stick with braided leader material, 13 kilograms. I'll go down to just a size 6 hook. Let's go extra small. And I'll stick with the zig rig in this combination with the corn, because the corn is working really well at the moment, even solo. So raspberry corn with raspberry dip. That's what's working up and down right now. Really easy, so you can catch really well with it. But if you want to achieve something, like catching a trophy with special rigs, e.g. the zig rig, or you just feel like experimenting with the zig rig, then you can use this. And that's what we're doing right now. And then we have all the different foam types here. So this foam, we can now, I'll take Rosé 13 here, or should I go even smaller? I'll go even smaller. I'll take Rosé, and then we'll take just the size 8, that's the smallest available. And with that, the raspberry corn. So that means I now have just the foam, the small balls in size 8, so the smallest, with just the corn and the dip, and here the raspberry dip. And then we have everything together. And it's already bleeping, I notice, and we'll just cast the whole thing out to 8 meters. Of course, with the ground bait, I've got a bit of, well, a somewhat special ground bait, right? I'll have to crank it up quickly. So a somewhat special ground bait in there, which we'll take a closer look at in a moment, because the ground bait is designed for really big fish. So a ground bait without base mix and small attractants. So, and it's slowly getting closer. Yes, in the last few days, there have also been kohaku as bycatch here, so occasionally some nice koi carp as well. And that has actually paid off quite well at this spot. So you can relax here and catch all sorts of carp really well. Besides the F1, well look, the common mirror carp is also occasionally among them. So straight back out with it, and I think I'll also cast out the ground bait again at 8 meters here. So, and I'll have to be a bit careful. Well, I don't want to overfeed right away because the particles in here now are actually really big. We'll take a closer look at them in detail. In the ground bait, I now have raspberry boilies 15 millimeter whole. Then there's raspberry feed pellets, raspberry marmalade feed pellets, that's what's in here. Then I have some corn as particles and some dissolving cream, and I'll get back to that later and try to combine raspberry and cream a bit more. Maybe I'll just make a raspberry dip and take just a cream corn with it. Maybe do that with a second setup, and then of course, combine it with the aroma again, with raspberry aroma. So that's what it looks like now. So So the whole thing here in this ground bait, and these are the different components. The base mix is left out. Why? The base mix is left out because we don't want to scatter and create a nice cloud of bait, but rather specifically only these large particles. So whole boilies in here, whole particles, just throw them in as feed. And accordingly, we have a lower frequency but an increased chance of attracting bigger fish. It's quite risky with such a ground bait, as there's a significantly higher chance of overfeeding a spot, so you have to be extremely careful. Even if it seems almost impossible to overfeed a spot here at the Copper Lake, because you can basically keep adding ground bait here constantly. So far, it's always worked quite well. But still, the idea or the mechanics are such that these large particles, whole boilies now, tend to overfeed a spot very quickly. And then that's it. The spot is overfed for a good 2 hours, and then you have to wait until the spot recovers. Well, and I think something's already biting, not on these two small combos, but actually again on the largest combo. Well, maybe that's actually the most attractive for the fish right now, but again, the mirror carp, well, I don't really want that. I can catch that elsewhere. I don't need to fish for that at the Copper Lake. With the challenges, you can of course also complete this carp fishing challenge here, namely stage 6, the middle one here. Various trophies on different hair rigs. So the different hair rigs, you can complete them here. And these are the ones I've done most recently or have had for a while. But the F1 I've just recently caught on the Zig rig. So Zig rig with Rose 13, and here with the raspberry corn and also the raspberry dip, of course. So there's quite a bit going on here, but it also takes a bit of time for the spot to really get going. It's best to go relatively fine here. If you're fishing with around 13 kilogram leader material here, then that's not bad at all. Yes, I'll keep testing here. You should also try out different rigs, just experiment a bit, play around a bit to see if you can find something new. If you already know that a spot is working really well, then just use similar aromas at the spot and play around a bit. Try something different, and maybe something new will develop that works really well. Good luck here at the spot. Pull out the trophies, and then we'll see each other in one of the next videos or in a live stream. Until then.